Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. So today's video is going to be talking about the upcoming matchup between Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol, unifying the light heavyweight division at 175 pounds in boxing. Massive fight taking place in Saudi Arabia. And when I look at this fight, I couldn't be more excited for the different style that both of these fighters are bringing to the table in this encounter. So we look at Artur Beterbiev, and we see a vicious puncher who has every single one of his wins coming by stoppage, the only champion in the sport of boxing who has that. And then also I look at Dmitry Bivol, and he's such a technician, the slick fighter, beautiful footwork. He has an amazing jab, defensively so responsible. He's got that classic Soviet Union style. Unbelievable fighter. And what's interesting about both of these fighters is, although they fought so many people professionally in their career, both of them have never matched up against somebody quite like one another. And what I mean by that is, let's first start off when you look at a guy like Dmitry Bivol. So Bivol has never been in there with a fighter who can go the full 12 rounds, who will keep coming at him, who can fight the whole time throughout every single minute of the rounds that Artur Beterbiev comes with that same pressure and tenacity. He has never faced a guy like that. Now you look on the flip side and you look at the guys that Beterbiev has been able to finish. None of these guys have had the stamina and conditioning required to go a 12 or 10 rounds with Artur Beterbiev to be able to survive the onslaught that he brings to the table. Now, Bivol has shown us in many fights that he has the conditioning to move for a full 12 rounds easily, do his game plan. Prime example, of course, being Canelo Alvarez. We're going to touch on that fight shortly after, guys. With no further ado, let's get right into this video, and I cannot wait to talk about this fight. So when I look at these fighters, let's first talk about Dmitry Bivol and what he brings to the table in this fight. Now, when we're looking at Dmitry Bivol, he's got that beautiful style where his hands are down, Soviet style, beautiful jab. He likes to throw that 1-2-1, so he likes to throw that jab, right hand, and then also come back with a jab, and that's a great way to reset. Also keeps you defensively responsible as well, and you can use other combinations off that. And speaking of combinations, Bivol has tons of combinations in his arsenal that he likes to throw. He's also a fighter who, beautiful job, one of the best in the sport of boxing, in my opinion. Elite footwork, amazing, always on balance. His distance control is excellent, and he never lets his opponent set. That's also a key factor when we look at the skill set of Dmitry Bivol. Now, when I look at some of the keys, and you look at Artur Beterbiev and what he brings to the table in this fight, Beterbiev is such a unique dude, and in my opinion, you hear a lot of people talk about him, and they say, well, he's just a pressure fighter. You know, he doesn't, he's not that skilled, right? He'll get hit or things like that. People don't realize how actually smart Artur Beterbiev is as a fighter. When you watch him, he'll switch stances. He'll throw all these unique different punches, like he's got this corkscrew jab. You look at him also, just the way he, in the clinch, he fights so aggressively. And he's a guy, the problem when you fight Artur Beterbiev, where he separates himself for almost every other fighter, is you can never take a second off against this guy, because you get in the clinch with him, he's going to hit you with short shots, and he's going to hurt you. And he's done that countless times throughout his fight, so you can never stop against him. And that's the problem, is like, people like to compare, for example, the win that Bivol had against Canelo and saying, oh, well, he'll do that to Beterbiev. Beterbiev is way stronger than Canelo. He has way better conditioning. And in my opinion, he's more technically elite than Canelo Alvarez, in my view, especially offensively as well. And he can fight the whole 12 rounds easily. And he has a pace and conditioning and everything required. So also when I look at, you look at Beterbiev, the distance he covers with his jab as well, and he'll land some leaping shots as well. That's something interesting that Beterbiev has. Really unique offensive arsenal, in my opinion, when you look at Beterbiev, just the way he cuts the ring, the way he throws these punches with not much effort, and they're just destroying people because he has the proper technique, and he doesn't need to go for the killer shot on every single punch. Really, it's just impressive the way he demonstrates his offense and the versatility that he brings to the table, you know, whether it be uppercuts or whether it be a right hand or an overhand right, or, you know, his jab, and then he'll do like a leaping left hook. And he'll switch up his variety of his jab as well. So just an unbelievably offensively gifted fighter, and a really smart boxer in general as well, when you look at Beterbiev. And that's what I think people forget, is this guy has a high level IQ. This is not just boxer versus puncher. This is a guy who has a great IQ and is super technically advanced as well when you look at Beterbiev, because you got to think about it, guys, too, that some people are not talking about in this fight. They both come from that Soviet Union background style, right? One implements it to a T, the other one has it varied his approach, but they both understand the fundamentals, and they both are taught in the same school of boxing, right? So that's huge when you look at this fight. For example, people just, they think that Beterbiev won't be able to understand what Bivol brings to the table because of his style and because of just the way he fights, but that's just silly, in my opinion, to think like that. Now, some advantages one has over one another, in my opinion, in this matchup. Let's first start off with Dmitry Bivol and the advantages he has in this fight, in my opinion. I look at Bivol, I think he has a hand speed advantage in this fight, in my opinion. I also believe the footwork is in his favor as well. And defensively, I think that he is more responsible as well of the two fighters. And I would say he's better controlling distance for sure if I was looking at both of these and what they bring to the table. Now, Beterbiev in this fight, in my opinion, he has the strength advantage. He also is the better puncher of the two fighters. Physically, he's a stronger fighter. And on the inside, he has a huge advantage over Bivol, who is an outside fighter. And when it comes to the inside fighting, it's a different realm, basically, when you're looking at Artur Beterbiev and what he's going to establish if he gets you on the inside. Now, some keys, in my opinion, for this fight, for both of these fighters. Big key, first of all, in my opinion, for Artur Beterbiev is to change levels and also go to the body early. This is a big thing when I look at fights that people fight Dmitry Bivol. Because he has his hands on at times, people are always headhunting against him. And I think that's a huge mistake against a fighter who's so skilled and who can move and give you different angles like Bivol does. However, you go back and look at fights with like Beterbiev when he fought Alexander Glovic from the Ukraine, who's super skilled amateurs on the same amateur team as Usyk and Lomachenko. He was moving a lot early in that Beterbiev fight, but Beterbiev just kept touching him with the right hand to the body constantly and just working that body throughout the fight. It really paid dividends for him in that matchup. As you saw, Alexander Glovic could not take the pressure and the punching to the body and just in general the onslaught that Artur Beterbiev brought in that fight. I also believe, too, if you're Beterbiev, varying your jabs is going to be a key one as well, just to close distance. And when you do get distance on Bivol, also keeping him there and hitting him, and like again, just hitting him anywhere you can, kind of like that Roberto Duran style where, you know, hit guys in the arms, he'd hit somebody in the he'd hit someone everywhere, you know, and just make that physical impression and domination throughout the fight so that, you know, for example, when a shot's coming, it's going to hurt, and you're going to have to be aware of it throughout the whole fight. When I look at, for example, a key method in this fight, if you're looking at Beterbiev, is if he is landing a lot of significant shots early and then he starts feinting when Bivol is on the ropes, he can set him up for overhand rights, right hands to the body, left hooks if Bivol, especially if Bivol goes out to that side where his left hook is. And all those feints will pay dividends because you've landed these hard shots, so now your opponent has to respect these feints, because if not, they're going to get hit with a vicious shot, and that's something that Beterbiev does excellently. For example, one of his combinations I love is where he'll just sort of jab, feint, and then go overhand right. And that's something that I think could have some success, especially against Bivol, because in previous fights, when you watch guys fight Bivol, they have connected with overhand rights on him on a consistent basis, like Joe Smith, for example, Jean Pascal, are two that come to mind right off the bat. And it's so hard to do because Bivol is so technically sound. So that's some keys, I think, on the Artur Beterbiev side. Moving on, guys. Let's start on with what I think that Bivol has to do in this fight to be successful. So if you're Bivol, your escape routes defensively, they have to be on point throughout this fight. You can't consistently be doing Bivol has beautiful boxing technique. You'll see him land that 1-2. He'll do the jab and hook as well. And Beterbiev has a high guard and sometimes is very tight to his face. So there's some openings for right hands to the body in particular. So I could see that shot being effective for Bivol, where he goes jab, right hand, and then goes down to the body on him, changes levels. Or jab, hook, and then feints go down to the body as well. Like, there's just different ways that he can touch Beterbiev to the body, and I would say that's the one weakness defensively that Bivol will look for. And also sometimes Beterbiev, his feet will come really, really close beside each other, and he won't be able to escape as quickly. And that's something that maybe Bivol looks for as well in this fight. And I think he's got to be on that jab constantly throughout the fight, making sure that Beterbiev, when he comes in, there's something always coming at him. And defensively, making sure that there's different shots coming in as well when Beterbiev is trying to attack you. I think that's going to be another key as well if you're Dmitry Bivol in this fight. And even at times, if you can, back up Beterbiev and make him fight off his back foot. We've seen Beterbiev, he's capable of doing that, but that's not obviously his game. Whereas Bivol, some of the biggest things you can say about him as a fighter, he's so technically sound, and there's nothing that he does that's crazy offensively. It's very basic stuff, but it's the fundamentals that he'll just continue to use over and over, and he's so elite at that. If they're done properly, it's so hard to beat a guy like that. And, if he sticks to a jab, controls distance and things like that, lands his right hand and keeps landing straight punches, maybe mixes in some uppercuts here and there as well. And he's just got a lot of different techniques that he wants to throw that are fundamentally sound, then he is going to eventually, he can frustrate Beterbiev early. Now, the difference between Beterbiev and a lot of these guys is he may be down 3 or 4 rounds, 5 rounds even. He doesn't care because he has that belief in himself that he has the power that's going to finish that fight at any point anyways. So I expect in this fight a lot of that, where I think that Bivol early is going to land a lot of jabs. He'll, land some right hands, maybe some left hooks as well, go downstairs a little bit on Beterbiev. However, I do believe that eventually Beterbiev is going to close the distance, and I think that his work rate and his ability to get inside and consistently be in Bivol's face and not let him kind of have that safe approach where he can move away. He has the distance control. He can kind of relax. Him constantly always being in his face and having that pressure is something that Bivol has never had to deal with in his professional career, because Canelo doesn't have the ability to do stuff like that, but Beterbiev does. So in my opinion, guys, I actually am going with, I know a lot of people are saying it's a 50-50 fight, but I believe that the aggression and the smart aggression and the way his varying of offense that Artur Beterbiev brings, along with his body work, his ability to understand that Soviet Union style as well, and his punching power, along with him being, I think, the physically stronger fighter of the two, I believe that Beterbiev is going to pull up an upset of this fight as well. I also think that his overhand right is an excellent shot, and that's a punch that has hurt Dmitry Bivol in the past, and something that with his style, with his hands low, especially late in a fight, say like 8, 9, 10 rounds, like things like that, when there's been a lot of pressure throughout the fight and he's had to move and use all of his tools in his arsenal against a guy like Beterbiev, that's where a shot like that really stings you. And you start just lowering your hands a little bit, and then eventually that distance, he's going to time you and he's going to catch you with that at some point. And I think that eventually just that constant wearing on Bivol, I think that the skills that Beterbiev brings to this table are going to be the kryptonite, in my opinion, for this fight. Most people are taking Bivol. It's one of those things where you look at it, you go, man, the hand speed of Bivol, he's got the advantage. He's got just such good fundamentals. His distance control is insane. Is Beterbiev going to be able to even close the distance on him effectively enough? Beterbiev is coming off an injury. He's close to 40 years old. So these are all major question marks. And when you're looking at it from a betting perspective, I could see why people would go Bivol. I just think that Beterbiev is special, and I think that his IQ is very underrated, and I think that he has so many different weapons that I think this is why he's going to win this fight, in my opinion. And I think he closes the show, guys. I'm going to go with an 11th round stoppage win for Artur Beterbiev, and I think he brings that title belt back to Canada and to Montreal. So, all right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in and checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much, guys. Once again, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Thank you.